What's up everybody, D-Man back, welcome to a brand new video, and today we're diving back on in for another Godzilla X Kong The New Empire breakdown video. In this one we'll be talking about 29 things you potentially missed in the Godzilla X Kong The New Empire TV spot Wave 9. The movie's going to come out here in a couple days, so before it does, I want to get the last couple TV spots that I want to talk about in. I have skipped tons. There's tons of TV spots I'm not going to watch, but I've got maybe 2 sets of these left. So in this one, we'll talk about the Kong vs. Shimo ad, the We Were Wrong ad, and the We Need Kong and Godzilla ad. The world needs them, I would argue. As per usual, I'll say a general spoiler warning. I'm not really going to cover big spoilery TV spots for the movie. I know there are some that are really spoiler heavy. I haven't watched those, and those are not the ones we're covering here, but you know, general spoiler warning, we're going to be diving on into 29 things you potentially missed in these TV spots. Oh, if you're wondering how I count things, it's mostly just for fun. Kind of just every time we move on to a new thought. To start out with that Kong and Shimo ad, while it is like the Kong versus Shimo ad, we don't actually see them fighting as much as we do see Shimo launching Kong through the air, revealing Shimo's back and tail. I loved the little sneaky hints of Shimo before they started to reveal too much. Shimo's tail strikes Kong to do this, meaning that Shimo's tail strike alone is more powerful than anything Godzilla was able to do in Godzilla vs. Kong. Remember, Godzilla also threw Kong around, but it took Godzilla a lot more effort than it's taking Shimo, and Kong barely got airtime compared to what's happening here. I mean, this dude is flying through the air. This leads directly into the shot of Kong colliding with the building, again calling back to that moment from Godzilla vs. Kong. This was already seen in a previous TV spot. We pick up with the continuation of the shot from inside the building, again continuing the shot from the previous TV spot, as we see Kong turn around to face the people running away inside. This is just further proof that Monarch has really stopped evacuating cities properly post King of the Monsters. I really don't know why. It's very similar to the shot inside the skyscraper from Godzilla vs. Kong, where all the people were watching Godzilla and Kong duke it out. Kong looks around here very panicked. His face is a little off model here. It's pretty awkward. The way he tensens up is most likely because he's about to be charged by Shimo. I'd guess Shimo's probably headed right towards him, or maybe it's Scar King even. And I think that this moment could be a moment calling back to that shot where Kong's about to get beaten up by Mechagodzilla, only for Godzilla to show up and save him, grabbing Mechagodzilla, and then the two of them tackle Mechagodzilla together. It's possible that Godzilla's gonna show up and battle Shimo here, taking the burden off Kong's shoulders, maybe even leading into a combo move against Shimo. Kong's eyes are super glossy here. I don't really know why. I'm thinking it's maybe because they're trying to show that Kong's in pain, so he's got maybe tears in his eyes, which I think is a very relatable thing to show. Like, it hurt Kong that much, if that's what they're going for. I can't really tell, but his eyes are super glossy. His face just looks weird, man. This trailer was the reveal for Kong throwing Scar King and then Godzilla batting him with the tail. I love that. That's so much fun. This seems to be a direct continuation from the shot of Kong jumping up and punching Scar King out into the buildings. It seems like Scar King is going to get knocked through the buildings. Kong is going to grab him and then throw him, just showing how much extra strength Kong has with the Beast Glove compared to normal, as I don't think he would normally be able to do that. He can really launch Scar King here, so the Beast Glove is probably giving him a lot more strength. Godzilla then uses his tail strike against him. Godzilla uses the tail strike in every single MonsterVerse movie, with the most iconic one of which being the time he killed the male Muto. That's a very similar shot where Godzilla kind of has to line up the shot and pinpoint his timing, and then he collides his tail into the Muto. It's very similar to this, although this is a little more baseball style. This is a little more outlandish. Godzilla uses a very similar move in the movie Godzilla Final Wars. Godzilla's spines start to glow here, meaning he's charging up the atomic breath, potentially to then blast Scar King into the air. Again, Godzilla uses a very similar move to this at the ending of Godzilla Final Wars. The voiceover from Bernie here says, "Where will you be when the next attack happens?" We don't really hear Bernie this serious this often, so I'm thinking this is probably a rallying cry. Maybe he's wanting people to stand with him and help Kong out in this battle. Could be a line delivered to someone like Eileen, but I think it's more than likely delivered to people like the Iwi, or something like that, trying to be like, come on guys, you can't just sit by during the next attack, we gotta do something. That'd be my guess, but you know, I honestly don't really know. Next one one up is the We Were Wrong ad. This is nothing really new. It's a slightly re-edited and a lot higher quality version of the ad where Kong gets tackled by the other apes. We have talked about that in a previous video. So the apes here have red paint on them. Those are the markings of Scar King. That's how Scar King marks his property. One of the apes is even wearing the paint on his face just like Scar King, maybe even indicating that the apes dress themselves in it, kind of calling back to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes where they wear war paint. Scar King himself wears war paint. That's where he gets the red on his face, and he paints his arms with it as well. And Scar King does mark things as his property. Previously in the MonsterVerse, he's marked Skull Island as his, maybe even enslaving the apes on the island and bringing them to Hollow Earth. It's possible that the reason the skull crawlers proliferated and killed all of the Kongs on the island aside from King Kong was because ultimately Scar King took so many apes that the great apes living on the island weren't able to hold them back anymore. It's also possible that Scar King slaughtered a bunch of species on Skull Island and then marked it as his territory. We also saw him mark the throne room in Godzilla vs. Kong as his territory, and he also marks a Monarch outpost, I believe that's what that is, in GXK as his territory. Kong's axe isn't on the ground here when he lands, which is what I had previously thought, but it was so low quality I couldn't tell. It's not on the ground. I think it's possible that Kong's gonna have to be trying to reach for his axe, and it's gonna be one of those classic shots where the axe is just out of reach from him, and that's what he's gonna have to use to defend himself against these apes. That axe would slice through these guys. Next up is the We Need Godzilla and Kong ad. Again, kind of calling back to that Nathan Lynn line. Godzilla launches out of the water. It's kind of a crazy shot. It seems to be the 2019 Godzilla design. So in the movie, Godzilla is going to be doing a lot of King of the Monsters-ly activities, a lot of activities in the vein of King of the Monsters, kind of calling back to that post-credit thing where Godzilla was going around fighting titans, putting them back in the ground. That stuff from King of the Monsters. Seems that those ideas are being reworked into this movie, as it does seem this is going to be one of the moments where Godzilla has to take on an awakened titan. If I'm not mistaken, and I very well could be, I believe Godzilla has to fight 2 or 3 titans in this movie before taking on Shimo and Scar King. As far as I can tell, it seems like Godzilla is going to maybe have a battle in the Arctic. Seems like Godzilla is going to have a battle at this factory, and then it seems like Godzilla is going to have a battle in Rome. We do know who he's fighting in Rome. I'm not going to say it here just because I don't want to do spoilers, but Godzilla is going to be doing a big battle in Rome, and I actually think that's how the movie starts out. Scar King could potentially be awakening the titans here, like what Ghidorah did, as maybe a strategy to wear down Godzilla so that by the time they wage war against Godzilla, he's a little weakened and a little too tired to keep up with them. It's also possible that this film will directly acknowledge the events of the prequel comic Godzilla X Kong the Hunted. That's the comic that tells us one of the titans that Godzilla is going to take on in this movie, as we did see there was a titan hunter who had a device that could awaken a few of the titans, kind of like the Orca, and Godzilla did have to take those on in the comic book leading into the movie. This ends with the extended tail strike shot here showing Godzilla is in fact spinning back around, and it seems like he's going to be blasting Scar King into the air. I think that this is a very video game styled combo move that in a video game would probably be the finisher. And while I don't think that's going to be the finisher in this movie, I do think this epic combo move could be setting up the finisher on Scar King. Let's say Godzilla potentially spins around, blasts Scar King back into the air, and then I think Kong is going to do the final blow. So I think you could see something like that happening here. But I really love to see the combo moves. I like that it justifies the reasons that Godzilla and Kong are fighting together. Of course, it's kind of odd that they have to fight together now that Godzilla's evolved and he's a lot faster, and you basically eliminate all of Kong's strengths. You know, Kong's biggest strength was his agility and his speed. Now you've given those things to Godzilla. So I like seeing that they still need to use combo moves together, and it can't just be a Godzilla saves the day on his own type movie. I like that the two of them are dependent on one another because it justifies the team up in the first place. I just think that's a really cool idea, and this is a really cool way to do that. That will do it for this one, guys. What are you most excited for to see in Godzilla X Kong the New Empire? The movie's right around the corner. What are you most looking forward to seeing? Of the stuff we talked about in this video, I'm definitely most excited to see the combos that Godzilla and Kong use together to justify their team up. That's going to be really awesome. Alright, thank you guys all for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to check out the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.